They called it Veterans Day. My father called my bronze star meaningless scrap before the entire family. The sound of metal breaking lasted less than a heartbeat, but long enough for me to see who held the hammer, who filmed it, and who sat frozen afraid of losing dessert. They thought they'd broken me. Turns out they'd only activated a mission. When I counted down from 3, I wasn't counting for rage. I was counting for deployment. My name is Mara Keaton, Captain, United States Army, and I've calculated supply chain failures that saved battalions. But I never calculated the precise force needed to shatter a bronze star until my father demonstrated it with a ball-peen hammer at 7:43 p.m. on Veterans Day. The old quarry chop house reeked of garlic butter and pretense. 27 relatives arranged around a horseshoe table like a tribunal. Lila centered in her designer blazer, orchestrating glances. My medal sat beside my water glass. I'd brought it because Mother insisted, just this once. Mara. For the family. Victor Keaton stood, raising his bourbon. To veterans, he began, voice pitched for performance. The real ones, the ones who saw action, not the ones who counted toilet paper in air-conditioned offices. The room laughed, polite, practiced, poisonous. Logistics, Lila added, swirling her Pinot. Such a noble way to say spreadsheets and shipping labels. I mean, they give medals for that now. What's next? Purple hearts for paper cuts. I mapped the exit's main door 12 feet behind me. Kitchen access 9 feet left. Emergency exit blocked by Cousin Derek's wheelchair. Standard threat assessment, except the hostiles shared my DNA. This, Victor lifted my bronze star, ribbon catching the Edison bulbs. This is what participation trophies have become. My daughter, 32 years old, playing army accountant, thinking she's Patton because she scheduled some trucks. The metal felt light in his grip. 4.7 ounces of bronze and ribbon representing the night I rerouted ammunition through contested supply lines during a fob siege. But I didn't correct him. Corrections required believers. You know what this means to us. Mara. He set it on the linen napkin, centered, ceremonial. Nothing. The hammer appeared from beneath the table, premeditated. Then, he'd planned this theater. The first strike bent the star. The second cracked it. The third sent the eagle fragmenting across imported china while Lila's phone captured every frame. 27 faces watched. 9 phones recording. 0 interventions. The garlic butter turned rancid in my throat. Not from hurt, I'd cataloged that sensation years ago, filed it under non-actionable intelligence. This was something else, the tactical clarity that comes when enemies reveal their positions. Your silence proves my point, Victor continued, sweeping bronze shards into his palm. Real soldiers would defend their honor, but logistics officers. They run their little spreadsheets and I stood, smooth, controlled, the way they teach you before entering hostile negotiations. My fingers collected the largest metal fragment, the wing portion, edges sharp enough to draw blood if gripped wrong. I wrapped it in my napkin, precise hospital corners. Thank you, I said. Confusion flickered across Victor's face. For what? Clarification? Lila smirked. Running away, as usual. Can't handle family truths. I memorized her expression, the micro-twitch in her left eye that preceded her cruelest strikes, the way she angled her jaw for the camera. Intelligence gathering. Nothing more. Sit down, Mara, Mother whispered. Don't make a scene. A scene. They'd destroyed military decoration with a hardware store hammer while filming it for social media, but my exit would be the scene. I pushed my chair under the table. Regulation precise. Enjoy dessert. The walk to the door stretched like a convoy route through hostile territory. Each step measured, back straight. Metal fragment secured. Behind me, the sound of Victor's voice. Typical, no backbone. That's why she hides behind a desk while real soldiers, the door closed on his performance. Outside, November air bit through my dress uniform. I stood in the parking lot, examining the bronze fragment under security lights. The eagle's wing, separated from its body. Caught the light differently now, sharper, more honest. I pulled out my phone, not to call anyone who would understand, but to document. Photo of the fragment. Screenshot of Lila's story already uploading. Family dinner drama. Some people can't handle truth bombs. Veterans Day. Family first. Truth hurts. They thought they'd won something. Thought they'd exposed me as the weak link, the pretender, the spreadsheet soldier who couldn't defend herself. They had no idea what logistics officers actually did. We didn't charge hills or breach doors. We calculated, we mapped, we identified supply lines and choke points and vulnerable infrastructure. We won wars before breakfast by knowing exactly where to apply pressure. My phone buzzed. 3 missed calls from Mother, 2 texts from concerned cousins, 1 notification from Lila's Instagram she'd tagged me. I deleted them all. Instead, I opened a new note, labeling it Operation Metal Phase 0 Assessment. Assets. 8 years of financial records. Access to Keaton Outfitters vendor database. Security clearance intact. 1 fragmented bronze star. 27 witnesses who chose complicity. Liabilities. None that couldn't be mitigated. I sat in my car, engine off, watching the restaurant windows fog with family warmth I'd never actually felt. Let them toast their version of truth. Let them film their little victories. In logistics, we had a saying, amateurs study tactics, professionals study supply lines. They'd just shown me theirs. 3:14 a.m., my apartment transformed into a combat information center. External hard drives spreading across the dining table like terrain maps. 8 years of evidence I'd never thought to weaponize, because children don't typically audit their parents for future litigation. The coffee maker gurgled 3rd pot since midnight. I worked systematically, the way I'd process after-action reports. No emotion, just data. Financial records first. Auto transfers to Keaton Outfitters. $450 monthly. Initialized January 2017. $86,400 total. The memo line read family support, but I had receipts that told different stories. Vendor negotiations I'd handled remotely from Kandahar. Inventory systems I'd designed between missions. Supply chain optimizations that cut costs by 32%. I photographed everything, uploaded to 3 cloud services, printed hard copies. The family photo folders came next. 23 gigabytes of revisionist history. Christmas 2018. Lila centered, her college graduation. I'm half visible, still in ACUs from emergency leave. Caption, our graduate making us proud. Easter 2019, Lila's promotion at her PR firm. I'm cropped out except for my shoulder. Veterans Day 2020. A photo of Victor with Lila at Keaton Outfitters. Continuing the family legacy with my daughter. No mention of the logistics protocols I'd written that kept them afloat during COVID. Pattern recognition, another logistics skill. Every photo, every post, every family newsletter painted the same narrative: Lila the chosen one, Mara the footnote. I opened the Keaton Outfitters shared drive, still had admin access oversight on their part. The irony tasted copper sharp. They'd erased me from stories, but forgot to revoke my permissions. Folder after folder of my work. Vendor contracts I'd negotiated. The entire inventory management system bearing my digital fingerprints. Supply chain maps I'd created that looked like military operational graphics because that's the only way I knew how to think. Download, archive, document. 4:27 a.m. The evidence spread before me like intelligence briefs. But data meant nothing without strategy. I needed to shift my thinking from defense to offense. I pulled up Lila's Instagram, 300 comments on her Veterans Day post. Your poor family, she sounds unstable. Classic PTSD behavior. Some people can't handle family honesty. PTSD. They'd already begun that narrative. Discredit the soldier, invalidate the threat. Textbook information warfare, if textbooks were written by people who'd never seen actual warfare. My phone buzzed. Tessa Hart's name appeared, my only friend from the unit who'd stayed stateside. Saw Lila's post. You good. Define good. Alive. Planning. Not doing anything that requires my alibi. 2 out of 3. Which 2? The legal ones. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Need backup. Stand by. I returned to the spreadsheets. Every dollar transferred mapped to a service rendered. Every photo timestamp matched to deployment schedules. Every family success story traced to my invisible labor. 5:43 a.m. Sunrise bled through my windows. I'd built something in the darkness, not a defense, but a siege engine. The bronze star fragment sat on my desk, eagle wing catching dawn light. They'd meant to break me with that hammer. Instead, they'd shown me something crucial. They needed my erasure more than they needed my compliance. Why else the public destruction? Why else the immediate social media campaign? Because Keaton Outfitters was hemorrhaging. I pulled their public filings. Revenue down 47% year over year. 3 vendor complaints in collection. A small business loan entering default status. They needed their military daughter narrative now for sympathy, for veteran-owned business grants, for the facade of family unity that kept local suppliers patient. But they'd chosen wrong. They'd kept the daughter who knew how to smile for cameras, not the one who knew how to read supply chains like battle maps. My laptop screen reflected my face-hollow eyes, yesterday's makeup streaking, hair escaped from regulation bun. I looked exactly like the unstable veteran they were selling to their audience. Perfect. Let them think that. I opened a new document, Operation Metal Strategic Overview. SUT. Primary Objective. Complete Narrative Control Transfer. Secondary Objective Asset Acquisition. Keaton Outfitters. Tertiary Objective Establish March and Metal Works. Rules of Engagement. All actions legally defensible. All evidence authenticated. No collateral damage to uninvolved parties. Phase 1, Isolation. Cut financial support. Revoke access. Secure legal representation. Phase 2, Pressure. Vendor notifications. Credit reviews. Community stakeholder engagement. Phase 3, Acquisition. Public auction. Documented transfer. Narrative replacement. Timeline 90 days. The plan crystallized with military precision. They wanted to erase me. Fine. I'd disappear completely along with everything that kept them afloat. But first, documentation. I picked up my phone, started recording November 12th, 05:51 hours. This is Captain Mara Keaton creating an evidentiary record. Last night, my father destroyed my Bronze Star medal at a family dinner while making statements about my military service. This recording serves as contemporaneous documentation of my mental state, clear, focused, and mission-oriented. I am beginning systematic disengagement from all financial and professional support of Keaton Outfitters, effective immediately. End recording. 6 a.m. I showered, dressed in civilian clothes that felt like camouflage, and made my 4th pot of coffee. They'd broken my medal. I'd break their supply lines. Let the operation begin. Day 3 of radio silence. Lila escalated from Instagram stories to Facebook essays. The invisible wounds, when your military sister chooses isolation, garnered 2,000 shares by noon. I sat in my office at Union Ridge Logistics Command, watching her performance unfold on my phone while processing supply requisitions. She'd learned from the best PR firms never attack directly, always suggest concern. Every post planted seeds trauma, instability, danger. My sister hasn't responded to any family attempts at reconciliation. We're worried about her mental state. Veterans carry burdens we civilians can't understand. If you know someone struggling with PTSD, please reach out. Mental health awareness. Veterans supporting veterans. Family first. My desk phone rang. Colonel Harrison's extension. Captain Keaton, need you in my office. The walk down the corridor felt familiar, summoned by command, uncertain of the charge. Harrison sat behind his desk, laptop turned toward me. Lila's latest post filled the screen. Want to tell me why I'm seeing your family drama on military spouse Facebook groups? Sir, and why someone sent me a video of your father destroying your Bronze Star? The video. Of course it had traveled. It's being handled, sir. By handled, You mean legally? Affirmative. He studied me the way he'd assess a supply route map looking for weaknesses, alternate paths, potential failures. You understand this could affect your clearance if it escalates, which is why I'm documenting everything, sir. Preemptive defensive positioning. Show me. I pulled out my phone, showed him the legal correspondence I'd drafted but not yet sent, the evidence folders, the timeline of financial support. His expression shifted from concern to something else recognition. Maybe. Keaton, you know what a preliminary security review looks like. Yes, sir. Then you know what I have to do if this gets louder. I'm requesting voluntary submission of a situation report to the Defense Conduct Review Board. Preemptive transparency. He leaned back. Smart. Do it today. And Keaton, whatever operation you're running, keep it clean. 2:17 p.m. Tessa found me in the base cafeteria, slid into the opposite seat with her tray. Your sister's really going for the throat. She's establishing narrative dominance. Standard PR crisis management. Except you're not a crisis. You're a person. I showed her my phone. 3 missed calls from unknown numbers reporters. Probably. 17 texts from family members. 1 voicemail from Mother Mara. This is getting out of hand. Lila's just worried. Call her back. They're trying to force contact through public pressure, I said. Make me look unstable if I don't respond. Cruel if I do. What's the countermove? Documentation and allies. As if summoned. My phone buzzed. Jonah Reeves' name appeared. The civilian engineer who'd worked on our power grid updates, who'd once said my supply matrices were poetry in spreadsheet form, saw the posts, offering neutral ground if you need it. Coffee at Millstone, 1600. Tessa read over my shoulder. Civilian support? Good. He doesn't know the full scope. Maybe that's why he's useful. 4 p.m. The Millstone Coffee House sat halfway between base and town neutral territory. Jonah waited in a corner booth, laptop open, looking like every other remote worker except for the way he tracked entrances and exits. Some habits were contagious. You look like hell, he said. Accurate assessment. He pushed a coffee toward me black. 1 sugar. Somehow remembered from meetings 6 months ago. Your sister's painting quite a picture. She's a professional painter. And you're what going to let her. I pulled up Lila's latest post on my phone. She'd escalated to video testimonials, cousins describing my cold detachment, aunts worried about my inability to connect, Victor himself, playing the wounded father. We just want our daughter back. The war changed her. The war, I said, was the only honest thing in my life. Jonah closed his laptop. What do you need? I don't need anything. Bullshit. You're running an op. I can see it in your posture. What's the objective? Strange. How civilians could surprise you? I'd expected sympathy or advice. Instead, he offered tactical assessment. Complete disengagement with prejudice. That's defense. What's offense? I studied him earnest face, steady hands, the kind of person who understood infrastructure because he built it. Why do you care? Because I've watched you turn chaos into supply chains for 3 years. Because your family's trying to turn you into a cautionary tale. Because he paused, recalibrated. Because false narratives about veterans affect all of us. My phone buzzed. Another notification. Lila had tagged the official Keaton Outfitters page. Supporting our veterans means understanding their struggles. Our family business stands with all who serve, especially those battling invisible wounds. Using the business. Using my service. Using my silence. I need technical assistance, I heard myself say. Legal documentation of digital evidence. Chain of custody protocols. I can do that. And I need someone without family connections to hold backup files. Done. This isn't your fight. He smiled, not the pitying smile I'd expected, but something sharper. You ever notice how supply chains and power grids are basically the same thing? Energy flows through predictable channels. Interrupt the right junction. The whole system reveals itself. 5:43 p.m. Back in my apartment, War Council assembled Tessa on speaker, Jonah at my dining table, Laptop synced to mine. Colonel retired Everett March on video call from his cabin in Tennessee. My mentor, the man who'd taught me logistics when I was a second lieutenant who couldn't read a supply manifest. "Show me the battlefield," March said. I shared my screen. The evidence, the timeline, the financial bleeding of Keaton Outfitters, Lila's escalating campaign. March listened, face impassive. "Finally, you're not thinking big enough." "Sir, they're using your service record for sympathy points, your silence for narrative control, your money for business survival. What happens when all three disappear simultaneously? System collapse? And what rises from collapsed systems?" I understood. Not just disengagement replacement, not just defense reconstruction. I need to build something better. Now you're thinking like a logistician. Wars aren't won by destroying enemies. They're won by controlling what comes after. The call ended. Tessa left for her night shift. Jonah stayed, helping me organize digital evidence into admissible formats. 9:21 p.m. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "This is Amy Sullivan from the Riverton Gazette. I'm covering your sister's story about veteran mental health. Would love your perspective." The media had arrived. Lila's campaign was working. I typed back, all communication through my attorney, Maya Ellison. Attached her contact. Let them think I was lawyering up out of fear. Let them think I was confirming their narrative of instability. They had no idea I was building something. Brick by brick, document by document, alliance by alliance. The bronze star fragment sat on my desk, sharp edge catching the lamplight. They'd broken the symbol. I'd break the system. Day 7. Maya Ellison's law office smelled like leather and strategy. She'd reviewed everything 8 years of evidence condensed into actionable intelligence. Former JAG officer turned civilian attorney. She understood both worlds I navigated. "Your sister's created a problem," she said, adjusting her glasses, "but also an opportunity." Explain. Public defamation with demonstrable financial impact, interference with security clearance, intentional infliction of emotional distress. She's handed us causes of action. Maya pulled up Lila's latest post on her tablet. "This one specifically mentions your mental instability affecting your military duties. That's actionable. I don't want to sue my family. You want to win? I want to reorganize the battlefield." Maya smiled the kind of smile that preceded legal devastation. "Then we use the threat of litigation as covering fire while you execute the real mission. What's the operational name?" "Operation Metal." She wrote it on her legal pad. "Military block letters? Walk me through it." I pulled up my laptop, showed her the 3-phase plan. Isolation, pressure, redefinition. Each step documented, legal, and irreversible. The ultimate objective is acquiring Keaton Outfitters. The ultimate objective is creating March and Metal Works. The acquisition is just tactical necessity. Named after your mentor. After what he taught me, institutional memory matters more than individual glory. Maya reviewed the financial forensics Jonah had helped compile. "You can prove the monthly transfers were payment for services, not gifts. Every dollar mapped to delivered work product. And you have administrative access to their systems, until they remember to revoke it. Download everything today, through proper channels, documented access. We'll call it Securing Personal Intellectual Property." 10:15 a.m. Base Legal Office. I filed my voluntary disclosure with the Defense Conduct Review Board, preempting any security clearance challenges. The lieutenant processing my paperwork barely looked up routine filing, nothing suspicious about protecting yourself from family drama. 11:43 a.m. My phone buzzed with a group text from Mother family meeting tonight. 8 p.m. Your father's house. This has gone far enough. I forwarded it to Maya. Her response came instantly. "Perfect. Don't attend, but document the invitation. Shows they're coordinating without you." Noon. I met Tessa at the commissary. She'd been monitoring the social media battlefield, keeping tabs on the narrative's spread. "It's working," she said. "The concerned family angle. Local news picked it up. Veteran's family pleads for understanding. You're becoming a symbol. Of what? Broken soldiers who can't readjust. Families torn apart by invisible wounds. She showed me her phone. Comments are brutal. I scanned them. Strangers diagnosing me with disorders I didn't have, offering prayers for my recovery, condemning me for hurting my family. Classic information warfare. The enemy defines you before you can define yourself. Time to shift the narrative, I said. How? By disappearing completely. Let them perform for an empty audience. 2:30 p.m. I systematically extracted myself from Keaton Outfitters' digital infrastructure, downloaded every file I'd created, every system I'd designed, every vendor relationship I'd managed, all legal accessing my own work product through authorized channels. Then I revoked my own access, changed the administrative passwords to random strings I didn't memorize, and locked myself out permanently. The business would survive maybe 3 weeks before they noticed the automation failing. 4 p.m. conference call with 3 major suppliers. I'd built these relationships over years, managing orders from combat zones, ensuring payment during cash flow crises. Riverside Manufacturing. This is Captain Mara Keaton. I'm calling to inform you that effective immediately, I'm no longer affiliated with Keaton Outfitters. Any standing agreements I negotiated should be reviewed with their new representative. Wait, Mara, you're the only reason we extended credit last quarter. Which is why I'm calling. Professional courtesy. 3 calls. 3 vendors suddenly nervous about outstanding invoices. I hadn't told them to pull credit, just informed them of changing circumstances. Their own risk assessments would do the rest. 5:15 p.m. Jonah arrived at my apartment with external drives and documentation software. We worked in silence, creating redundant backups, establishing chain of custody, preparing for legal discovery that might never come but would devastate if it did. You know they're meeting without you tonight, he said. I'm counting on it. What do you think they'll plan? Escalation. Probably an intervention. Maybe involuntary commitment papers. Lila's been building towards something dramatic. Doesn't that worry you? I pulled up the Defense Conduct Review Board's confirmation email. I've already self-reported. Maya's already documented their defamation. Every move they make now creates evidence. 7:45 p.m. My phone exploded with texts. The family meeting had started without me. Cousin Rebecca, attempting diplomacy. We're worried about you. Uncle Grant, more direct, stop being selfish. Lila, performing concern. We've contacted a veterans crisis counselor. Please let us help you. I screenshotted everything, forwarded to Maya. 8:20 p.m. Victor called. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker for Jonah to witness. Mara, this is your father. The family has decided you need help. We've arranged for Dr. Patricia Hendricks to evaluate you. She specializes in combat trauma. If you don't cooperate, we'll have to consider other options. This is for your own good. That sounds like a threat, Jonah said. It's better than a threat. It's evidence of conspiracy. I pulled up Dr. Hendricks online. Real psychiatrist, specialized in veteran treatment, but also Lila's sorority sister from college. The connections were never subtle. 9 p.m. I composed my response not to the family, but to my command, Colonel Harrison, pursuant to our discussion. I'm forwarding evidence of family members attempting to interfere with my military service through orchestrated mental health allegations. I've voluntarily submitted to review and maintain full confidence in my fitness for duty. Request guidance on additional protective measures. Respectfully, CPT-M. Keaton. 9:30 p.m. Maya called. Just got an interesting email. Your sister's reaching out to schedule a meeting about resolving this misunderstanding legally. She doesn't know we're already 3 moves ahead. Let her come. You want me to meet with her? I want you to document her admission that this is orchestrated. Get her on record. You're using their own momentum against them. It's basic logistics never interrupt enemy movement toward a position you've already reinforced. 10 p.m. I sat alone in my apartment. Evidence backed up. Allies notified. legal protections in place. Tomorrow, Phase 2 would begin applying pressure to their overextended supply lines. The bronze star fragment reflected the desk lamp's glow. They'd meant to break me with that hammer. Instead, they'd forged something harder. Operation Metal was fully operational. 6 a.m. Phase 2 initiated with surgical precision. First strike financial arterial cut. I logged into my bank account, canceled the automatic transfer that had fed Keaton Outfitters $450 monthly for 8 years. The confirmation email felt like a clean ammunition check, simple, necessary, final. Next, revoking my personal guarantee on their business credit line. One phone call to Riverton Commercial Bank. 5 minutes explaining I was no longer affiliated with the company. Formal letter to follow from my attorney. The account manager's pause told me everything they'd been relying on my military stable income as backing. 8:30 a.m. Maya's office. She'd drafted the cease and desist letter with beautiful efficiency. To the management of Keaton Outfitters and Lila Keaton personally, your recent public statements regarding Captain Mara Keaton's mental health constitute defamation per se, as they directly impact her professional standing and security clearance. Cease immediately or face litigation. Send it. Certified mail, email, and courier to Lila's PR firm. Triple redundancy. Very military. I want witnesses to their receipt. 9:15 a.m. I drove to Keaton Outfitters not to confront, but to document. Parked across the street. Photographed the morning delivery truck leaving without unloading. They'd missed a payment. The infrastructure was already cracking. My phone rang. Victor. What did you do? No preamble, just rage. Specificity would help. The bank called. You pulled your guarantee. That's $18,000 they want immediately. My financial advisor recommended reducing unnecessary liabilities. We're family. According to your Veterans Day speech, I'm a spreadsheet soldier who means nothing to you. Silence. Then, Lila was right. You need help. Document that statement, please. My attorney will want it for discovery. He hung up. 10:45 a.m. 3 vendor emails forwarded from Maya. Riverside Manufacturing, Premier Textile Supply, and Dixon Hardware all suspending credit pending payment of outstanding balances. My notification calls had triggered their risk assessment protocols. 11 a.m. Colonel Harrison called me to his office. The Defense Conduct Review Board had fast-tracked my voluntary disclosure. They found no concerns, he said. In fact, they're impressed by your proactive transparency. But Keaton, there's something else. He turned his monitor. An email from the Department of Veterans Affairs about the Veteran Business Enhancement Grant, $50,000, Keaton Outfitters had applied for, listing me as the veteran owner-operator. Fraud, I said. If you weren't actually involved, yes, they'd need your DD-214 and your signature, which they forged, which you should verify with the VA Inspector General. Another gift from their agreed federal fraud charges if I chose to pursue them. 1:30 p.m. Lunch with Tessa and Jonah at a diner off base. I showed them Lila's latest post, a photo of my empty chair at last night's family meeting, captioned, "The silence of trauma speaks loudest." She's good, Tessa admitted. Playing the long game? She's playing checkers, I said. Watch this. I pulled up the Riverton Civic Honors Night website, where Victor was scheduled to receive a Family Business Excellence Award next month. I drafted an email to the selection committee. Dear committee members, I recently discovered Keaton Outfitters listed me as veteran owner-operator on federal applications. As I have no ownership stake and have formally severed all ties with the business, I feel obligated to clarify this misrepresentation before your upcoming awards ceremony. Documentation attached. Respectfully, Captain Mara Keaton, USA. You're not just cutting ties, Jonah said. You're salting the earth. I'm establishing accurate records. 3 p.m. Maya called. Lila's here. She brought your parents. Recording. Legally. Let them talk. I stayed on the line, listening to Lila's performance through Maya's speakerphone. The concerned sister, the troubled veteran narrative, the family just wanting to help. Then Victor's voice, sharp with desperation. Can't you make her stop? She's destroying the business out of spite. What specific actions has Captain Keaton taken? Maya's voice, professionally neutral. She pulled her guarantee, called our vendors, told the awards committee we're frauds. Has she made any false statements? Silence? Because if all she's done is withdraw her own support and correct inaccuracies, that's not actionable. However, your public statements about her mental health, that's free speech, Lila interrupted. Not when it's false, defamatory, and damages her professional standing. You have 48 hours to remove all posts and issue a public retraction, or we proceed with litigation. 4:30 p.m. Back in my apartment, I assembled the next phase. The Riverton Veterans Coalition had reached out, concerned about Lila's posts. I scheduled coffee with their director for tomorrow. The local Small Business Association wanted clarification about Keaton Outfitters' veteran status meeting confirmed for Thursday. My phone buzzed. Mother, you're destroying your father. I typed back. He destroyed my Bronze Star. I'm just returning the equivalent force. 5:45 p.m. An unexpected email from First Sergeant Williams, retired, who'd served with me in Afghanistan. Keaton saw the social media garbage. 22 of us from the unit want to make a statement about your service. The night you ran that ammunition resupply through hostile territory saved 43 soldiers. We remember, even if your family doesn't. I stared at the screen. I hadn't asked for support, hadn't reached out to anyone from deployment. They'd found me. Send me what you need, Williams continued. We've got your 6. 7 p.m. Maya forwarded Lila's response to the cease and desist. We're exploring our options. Translation they'd lawyered up but found no countermove. 8 p.m. I sat with Colonel March on video call, updating him on the operation's progress. You've got them in a vice, he said. What's next? Pressure until they break, then offer terms. What terms? Complete separation. No contact, no claims, no connection. And Keaton Outfitters at fair market value when it goes to auction? You're going to buy it. I'm going to transform it. March and Metalworks training and grants for female veterans. Named partially after you, if you'll permit it. His weathered face softened. I'd be honored. But, Keaton, are you prepared for total family excision? I looked at the Bronze Star fragment on my desk. They performed that surgery themselves. Sir, I'm just cleaning the wound. Day 14. The pressure campaign intensified like artillery finding range. Each action calculated for maximum strategic impact, minimum collateral damage. 7 a.m. Meeting with the Riverton Veterans Coalition. Director James Hoffman. Silver Star recipient. Listened to my timeline while reviewing the evidence folder. 20 minutes in. He stopped me. They used your service record to apply for veteran preference contracts, while simultaneously claiming my service was worthless. We've endorsed Keaton Outfitters for 3 years based on this. He pulled up their files, recommended them for the Chamber of Commerce Veteran Business Award, connected them with procurement officers. I'm not asking you to take action. You don't have to. Stolen valor by proxy is still stolen. He started typing. I'm sending a clarification to our entire network. Today, 9:30 a.m. The Small Business Association meeting went similarly. Keaton Outfitters had claimed veteran-owned status on 7 federal applications. The investigator took notes with the kind of careful precision that preceded legal action. To be clear, Captain Keaton, you've never held ownership stakes. Never. I provided unpaid consulting while deployed, and afterward, they monetized my service without my equity participation or consent. We'll need to review their certifications. 11 a.m. My phone erupted. 16 missed calls from Victor. 23 texts from family members. Lila had gone nuclear on social media. My sister is actively sabotaging our family business during her mental health crisis. This is what untreated PTSD looks like, destroying everything you once loved. Maya called immediately. She just violated the cease and desist? Document it. Already screenshot and notarized. We can file for an emergency injunction. Not yet. Let her create more evidence. Noon. I sat in my car outside Keaton Outfitters, watching the chaos I'd orchestrated. A premier textile truck pulled up, sat for 10 minutes, then left without delivering. Through the window, I could see Victor arguing on the phone, Lila pacing, Mother sitting at the register with her head in her hands. My phone rang. Jonah. You need to see this. He sent a link. The Riverton Civic Honors Night Committee had released a statement. Pending verification of business ownership claims, we're postponing the Family Business Excellence Award. 1:45 p.m. I met with 3 representatives from the Riverton Chamber of Commerce. They'd received Hoffman's alert, reviewed their records, found discrepancies. The conversation lasted 12 minutes. They'd already decided to suspend Keaton Outfitters membership pending investigation. 2:30 p.m. An unexpected ally emerged. Amy Sullivan from the Riverton Gazette called Maya directly. I've been investigating the story. The family's narrative doesn't match public records. Can Captain Keaton provide documentation? Maya conferenced me in. What kind of documentation? Proof of service. Financial records. The video of the metal incident. You have the video, I asked. Cousin Rebecca sent it, thinking it would support Lila's story. It doesn't. It shows premeditated destruction of military decoration. We arranged to send her the evidence file through Maya, maintaining legal privilege while ensuring accurate reporting. 4 p.m. Emergency strategy session with my assembled team. Tessa arrived with printed screenshots of every defamatory post. Jonah brought financial projections showing Keaton Outfitters' imminent collapse. Maya had drafted the federal fraud complaint. They're hemorrhaging, Jonah reported. 3 vendors have filed liens. The bank's accelerating the loan. Without immediate capital injection, they'll default within 2 weeks. Lila's escalating, Tessa added. She's contacted your chain of command directly. Colonel Harrison forwarded it to JAG, I said. It's now part of my harassment documentation. Maya pulled up her tablet. Speaking of documentation, 22 of your unit members sent sworn statements about your service. Want to hear my favorite? She read, Captain Keaton ran a 72-hour continuous operation to resupply FOB Warrior during the siege. 0 sleep, under fire. Never lost a single shipment. If that's not valor, nothing is. SFC Williams, 5:30 p.m. The counterstrike arrived via certified mail. Lila had hired an attorney, a desperate move considering their financial situation. The letter demanded I cease tortious interference with their business. Maya laughed. Tortious interference requires improper means or improper purpose. Telling the truth is neither. Response. We list every fraudulent claim they've made, every forged document, every federal violation, then we offer terms. What terms? Complete separation, no contact order, and first option to purchase when the bank forecloses. 6:45 p.m. I drafted the purchase option agreement, not for revenge, but for reconstruction. March and Metal Works would rise from Keaton Outfitters' ashes, a training center for female veterans, a grant program for those transitioning to civilian business, a living memorial to service they'd tried to diminish. 7:30 p.m. Another family group text, this time from Mother. The bank is calling our loan. You've destroyed us. I responded with a single line. You destroyed my Bronze Star. I destroyed your fiction. 8 p.m. Amy Sullivan's first article went live. Questions arise about local businesses' veteran claims. Factual, documented, devastating. She'd quoted the VA investigator, the SBA representative, 3 veterans who'd been deceived. Lila's social media narrative evaporated under journalistic scrutiny. 9:15 p.m. Maya called. Lila's attorney wants to negotiate. Already? The fraud investigation spooked them. Federal charges versus family drama, different weight class. Set the meeting, their attorney's office. Make them come to us. 10 p.m. I sat with the Bronze Star fragment, planning the final phase. The business would fall, that was mathematical certainty now. The family would fracture already accomplished, but from that destruction, something worthwhile would emerge. My phone lit up with messages from female veterans who'd seen the article, offering support, sharing their own stories of erasure. Each message strengthened my resolve. Tessa texted, "You know they'll never forgive you." I replied, "They never valued me enough to require forgiveness." Tomorrow, the acceleration would continue. The loan default would trigger public auction. The fraud investigation would generate federal scrutiny. And I would stand ready with purchase funds, my savings, my retirement account liquidated, and surprisingly, contributions from 22 unit members who insisted on investing in March and Metalworks. The pressure campaign was working. The enemy was retreating. Victory conditions were emerging. Day 28. Depot Hall's auction floor smelled like old wood and fresh desperation. Folding chairs arranged in neat rows, I'd arrived early enough to count them. 72 seats, 43 filled. Victor and Lila in the front row, flanked by their attorney. Mother 3 seats over, maintaining distance from everyone. I sat back row, left side clear sightline to exits. Optimal positioning for observation. Maya beside me, briefcase containing certified checks from 22 investors. Jonah and Tessa positioned separately, witnesses to whatever drama Lila had orchestrated. 9:58 a.m. Lila started her live stream, phone propped on her purse. "Family, we're here fighting to save our legacy from someone who's chosen vendetta over valor." The auctioneer, a methodical man named Peterson, ignored the theatrics. 10 a.m. sharp. His gavel struck. Lot 1, Keaton Outfitters, commercial property and assets. Opening bid set at $340,000 to satisfy creditors. Victor stood immediately. Not to bid he couldn't, but to perform. "Before we begin, I need everyone here to understand what's happening. My daughter, a supposed soldier, is stealing her family's livelihood. 8 years we supported her career, and this is our repayment." Peterson looked uncomfortable. "Sir, please be seated or I'll have you removed." "Let him speak," I said, loud enough for the room and Lila's live stream to hear. "Documentation matters." Maya activated her recorder as Victor turned to face me. The room. The camera. "You want to buy our business, the one you contributed nothing to." I stood slowly, maintaining military bearing. "I contributed 8 years of supply chain management, 43 vendor contracts negotiated, 16 system optimizations that cut costs by 32%, $86,400 in direct financial support." I pulled out my phone, projecting calm. "I have receipts." "Receipts." Lila laughed, sharp and performative. "For being family, you needed documentation to love us. I needed documentation because you taught me to." I addressed the room now, not them. Veterans Day, 28 days ago. My father destroyed my Bronze Star with a hammer while saying my service meant nothing. My sister filmed it. They thought they were destroying a symbol. They were creating evidence. Murmurs through the crowd. Several people pulled out phones, searching for the video that Amy Sullivan's article had referenced. "That's a lie," Victor said, but his voice cracked. Maya stood, pulling out her tablet. "Would you like to see the video multiple angles? Actually, your family was quite thorough in documenting the destruction of military property." "This isn't relevant to the auction," their attorney interjected. "It's relevant to the fraudulent veteran status claims," Maya responded, "which are under federal investigation." Peterson cleared his throat. "We need to proceed. Opening bid stands at $340. $340, I said clearly. $350, a voice from the middle called. Local investor, probably hoping for quick flip potential. $400, I countered. Victor spun toward me. "You don't have that money." 22 members of my unit disagree. They invested in March and Metalworks, the non-profit that will operate from this location. "What?" Lila's live stream shook as she stood. "You're stealing our business for your personal gain?" "I'm purchasing a foreclosed property at public auction to create a training center for female veterans. The IRS has already approved our 501c3 status." I pulled out the approval letter, held it up for the camera. Every dollar will serve women who were told their service meant nothing. 410, the other bidder called. 450. I responded without hesitation. Victor's face had gone purple. This is family betrayal at its finest. Everyone here is witnessing a daughter destroying her parents. I pulled the bronze star fragment from my pocket, held it up to catch the overhead lights. Everyone here is witnessing accountability. Peterson's gavel hovered. 450 going once. Wait. Lila grabbed her father's arm. Dad, tell them. Tell them about her mental state. The PTSD. She's not competent to. I have a clean bill of mental health from 3 independent VA psychiatrists. I interrupted. Secured after your family attempted to have me involuntarily committed. Would you like to see those evaluations or the restraining order I could file for harassment? 450 going twice. Victor broke free from Lila, stepped toward me. For a moment, I calculated distances, angles, response options, but he just stood there, deflated. Why, he asked. Why couldn't you just accept your place? Because my place was never in your family. It was in service. You tried to erase that service. Now I'm institutionalizing it. Sold. Peterson's gavel struck. 450,000 to bidder 17. The room erupted. Lila's live stream caught her screaming about theft, conspiracy, mental illness. Victor slumped into his chair. Their attorney was already packing his briefcase, recognizing a lost cause. Maya handed Peterson the certified check. We'll need immediate possession transfer. Stop! Lila pointed her phone at me like a weapon. Tell them the truth. Tell them you planned this from the beginning. I faced her camera directly. Yes, from the moment Dad broke my bronze star, I planned this. Every legal step, every documented fact, every strategic move, because that's what logistics officers do. We plan, we supply, we build, and we win. You destroyed our family. No, you destroyed a medal. I acquired a building. The family was already broken. I just stopped pretending otherwise. 11:23 a.m. The paperwork signed. Keys transferred. I stood in the empty Keaton Outfitters, soon-to-be March and Metal Works. Victor and Lila had left without words. Mother had approached, stopped 3 feet away, then turned back. Tessa and Jonah joined me in the main room. Sunlight through windows illuminated dust motes and possibilities. You did it, Tessa said. We did it. I gestured to the space. First training cohort launches in 60 days, 10 female veterans, full scholarships, business development program. Jonah pointed to the front window. What about the sign? I pulled out the bronze star fragment, held it against the glass. This goes in a display case by the entrance, not as a monument to what was broken, but as a reminder that from destruction comes construction. My phone buzzed. A text from Colonel March. Watched the live stream. Outstanding maneuver. March and Metal Works has its first instructor volunteer me. Noon. I stood alone in what had been my father's office. Would become the counseling center. No photos of false family unity. No propaganda of manufactured love. Just space for truth, growth, and genuine service. The war was over. The reconstruction could begin. Mission complete. 4:17 p.m. The same day. March and Metal Works' first official hour of existence. I stood in the main training room with Tessa, Jonah, and Colonel March, who'd driven 3 hours from Tennessee to witness the transition. The space felt different without the weight of false legacy. Cleaner, honest. First modification, Colonel March said, surveying the room. That wall comes down. Open concept for collaborative learning. Second, Tessa added, proper lighting. None of this dim showroom atmosphere. I pulled out my laptop, began documenting. Not for evidence this time, for building something real. 5:30 p.m. Maya arrived with incorporation papers and our first donation, a check for $20,000 from the Riverton Veterans Coalition. Hoffman sends his regards, she said, and a message finally, a veteran business that honors the uniform. We worked in efficient silence, planning curriculum, sketching layouts, transforming a monument to ego into a foundation for service. Each decision stripped away another layer of Keaton Outfitters pretense. 6:45 p.m. A knock at the door. I looked up to see First Sergeant Williams and 6 members from my old unit. "Heard you needed instructors," Williams said. "Logistics, leadership, transition planning, we've got you covered." Behind them, 3 female veterans I'd never met. "We saw the article," one said. "Drove 2 hours. Want to be part of this." 7 p.m. We gathered in a circle, 11 people who understood that service meant more than DNA, that family could be chosen, that broken things could be reformed into stronger structures. I pulled out the bronze star fragment, passed it around. Each person held it, understanding its weight. "This isn't about revenge anymore," I said. "It never really was. It's about refusing erasure. About building something that can't be broken with a hammer and a Facebook post." 8 p.m. The local news arrived Amy Sullivan with a camera operator. She'd requested a follow-up story, the conclusion to the saga she'd been documenting. "Captain Keaton, your family's made additional statements. They're calling this theft. They can call it whatever they need to. I'm focused on construction, not their destruction. Any message for them?" I considered the question, looked at the bronze star fragment now mounted in a simple frame. "Yes, thank you. Thank you. For the clarity. They showed me exactly who they were, what they valued, and where I didn't belong. That's a gift, even if it came wrapped in cruelty." 8:45 p.m. The news crew departed. My team, my chosen family, continued planning. Curriculum outlines, funding strategies, partnership proposals. We ordered pizza, spread blueprints across the floor, built something from nothing but will and shared purpose. 10 p.m. Everyone had left except Jonah. We stood in the empty storefront, looking at the space where the Keaton Outfitters sign would come down tomorrow. "Any regrets?" he asked. "About losing family. About how you won." I thought about Victor's collapsed expression, Lila's public humiliation, Mother's silent retreat, the surgical precision with which I'd dismantled their fiction. I regret it took me 8 years to understand they were never my family, just people who shared my blood and resented my service. That's cold. That's accurate. Cold would be pursuing the federal fraud charges. I'm letting those go. Maya will file non-prosecution recommendations tomorrow. They've lost enough. Jonah studied me. You're really done with them. I was done the moment the hammer struck bronze. Everything after was just logistics. 11 p.m. Alone now. I walked through each room, envisioning its future. The front office would become intake and counseling. The showroom would transform into classroom space. The back warehouse would house workshop training. I stopped at the spot where the bronze star fragment display would be installed tomorrow. Not as a shrine to my service, but as a reminder sometimes destruction is just the first step of construction. My phone sat silent. No family texts, no desperate calls, no social media notifications. I'd blocked them all, not from anger, but from architecture. You can't build forward while looking backward. I pulled out my notebook, wrote the final entry for Operation Metal. Mission complete. Objective secured. Keaton Outfitters terminated. March and Metal Works operational. 0 friendly casualties. 0 regrets. The front door locked with a solid click. Tomorrow, contractors would begin renovations. Next week, our first grant applications would be submitted. In 60 days, 10 female veterans would walk through these doors to reclaim their narratives, to build their futures, to refuse erasure. I stood on the sidewalk, looking at what I'd won, not through revenge, but through revolution, the complete transformation of a lie into a truth, a business built on false honor into one built on authentic service. In my pocket, my phone stayed silent. No family reaching out, no bridges to rebuild. Good. Some bridges were meant to burn. Their light just helped you see the path forward. I touched the building's brick wall, solid, real, mine, ours. I don't need you to believe in me, I said to the November darkness, to the family that would never hear it. to the uniform that would always define me more than blood. I need correct process, correct evidence, correct people, and I have all three. The streetlights caught the empty windows, reflecting infinite possibilities. I walked to my car, drove home, and slept the dreamless sleep of a soldier who'd completed her mission. The war was over. The work could begin. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about Mara's journey. What would you have done in her situation? Your perspectives mean everything to this community we're building together.